Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're equipping you with a scientifically backed toolkit to de escalate tension and protect your own mental well being when you're faced with rudeness. I mean, we've all been there, right? Whether it's dealing with a passive aggressive coworker, an absolutely furious customer, or just a really tense argument at home. Interpersonal rudeness is this massive, pervasive stressor, and honestly, it can completely drain our energy if we don't know how to handle it. But what if you could fundamentally change your reaction to hostility? What if you had a literal blueprint to neutralize a conflict before it even truly begins? So, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the biology of conflict. Then we'll move into rewiring your brain. After that, we'll tackle navigating workplace dynamics, diffusing angry customers, saving your relationship, and finally, we'll tie it all together with a universal de-escalation toolkit. Section 1, the biology of conflict. To deal with a rude person externally, we really have to first look at the internal battle happening right inside your own nervous system. Now, when someone is rude to you, your elevated heart rate isn't just frustration. It's actually a biological alarm system that traps you in a fight or flight state, which makes reacting logically pretty much impossible. Your brain literally interprets that social friction as a physical threat. Your muscles tense up, adrenaline and stress hormones surge, and you experience what clinicians call somatic flooding. And here's the crucial thing. When you're flooded, the rational part of your brain effectively goes offline. You simply cannot logic your way out of an argument when your body thinks it's fighting for survival. So what do? Well, you have to physically cool down the system before you speak. We can rapidly lower this physical arousal by using the RAIN technique to create a cognitive pause. RAIN stands for mindfully recognizing the anger, allowing it to be there without trying to suppress it, investigating where you actually feel it in your body, like maybe a tight chest or a clenched jaw, and finally nurturing yourself with a bit of self-compassion. Just taking this brief moment to breathe rapidly shifts your nervous system out of that high arousal state. You're basically buying your brain the time it needs to catch up. Moving on to section 2, rewiring your brain. Once we're physically stabilized, we have to build up our mental defenses through cognitive restructuring. Think of the ABCD protocol from cognitive behavioral therapy as a mental cheat code to interrupt dangerous thinking traps, like catastrophizing or mind reading. Let's say a colleague walks right past your desk without saying hello. That's the objective activating event. But your brain instantly jumps to the belief, oh, they're trying to sabotage me. That's classic mind reading. The consequence is that you become hostile and defensive. But if we utilize the D, dispute, we actively challenge that distorted belief. Maybe they were just super distracted by a deadline. By disputing our automatic assumptions, we stop ourselves from fueling totally unnecessary anger. Section 3, navigating workplace dynamics. Now that we've got our internal armor on, let's step into our first external arena, the workplace, and all its daily passive-aggressive frictions. Now check this out, because this is a fascinating paradox of human nature. 95% of people believe they are self-aware, but actual data shows only about 10 to 15% genuinely are. We all know that one specific coworker, right? Well, this means that annoying colleague likely has absolutely no idea how their terse emails or their constant phone checking during meetings is actually being perceived. Once you realize that most office rudeness is rooted in a total lack of awareness and chronic stress, rather than some malicious intent, it becomes so much easier to just not take it personally. Eric Berne's transactional analysis is a brilliant tool that helps us remain neutral observers of all this office drama. If a coworker comes at you using a judgmental tone, what he calls the critical parent ego state, your knee-jerk instinct might be to act like a defiant, rebellious child. But that conversational mismatch instantly creates a huge conflict. The secret here is to anchor yourself firmly in the adult state, rational, objective, and curious. By staying perfectly neutral, you literally strip the emotional fuel away from the hostile person, forcing the conversation right back to a professional baseline. Section 4, diffusing angry customers. Let's shift gears to a high-stress, low-intimacy environment where your emotional control directly impacts business, the customer service desk. If you attempt to jump straight to problem-solving with an angry customer, it is going to fail. Why? Because they simply aren't ready for logic yet. The CARP method forces you into a strict sequence. First, control yourself. Lower your voice, don't take the bait. Second, acknowledge their feelings. Seriously, let them vent. If you try to fix their billing issue while they're still yelling, they won't even hear you. Only after they truly feel heard can you refocus on the facts and finally transition to problem solving. And whatever you do, avoid passive-aggressive language that secretly blames the customer.
You know the phrase, "we're sorry you feel that way." Ugh, it's terrible. It subtly tells the customer that their feelings are the actual problem. Instead, opt for a direct, factual apology that validates them using the HEARD active listening method. Hear them out, empathize, apologize factually, resolve, and diagnose the root cause. This specific active listening strategy is exactly what transforms a furious customer into a fiercely loyal one.
Section 5. Saving your relationship. Let's move into the highest stakes arena we face. Conflict in our romantic partnerships hurts deeply because of the profound emotional vulnerability involved. Dr. John Gottman's clinical research reveals this staggering magic number, 5 to 1. For a stable couple to preserve emotional safety during a conflict, they must maintain at least 5 positive interactions for every single negative one. Think of this ratio as your relational bank account. A positive interaction doesn't have to be some grand romantic gesture. It can just be a moment of shared humor, expressing genuine appreciation, or simply validating your partner's stress. When this ratio drops, destructive communication takes over, and that is when the real damage happens.
When communication does break down, it often falls into 4 destructive patterns, known as the 4 horsemen, and each one requires a very specific clinical antidote. Contempt, mocking, sarcasm, rolling your eyes, is actually the single best predictor of relationship failure. Its antidote? Building a culture of appreciation. If you find yourself using criticism, switch to a gentle startup using I statements. If defensiveness is your go-to, try taking responsibility for even a tiny part of the issue. But the most intense response? Stonewalling. That's when you completely shut down and withdraw.
And here is the hard biological reality behind stonewalling. If this happens, you must take a strict 20-minute break. Actually, scratch that. A 5-minute breather won't cut it. You literally need a full 20 minutes because your body takes that long to chemically flush out stress hormones. Stonewalling happens because a person is completely somatically flooded. If you keep arguing, you're either going to get an explosion or total detachment. You must consciously ask for a break, separate, and do some slow, deep breathing until your physiological metrics, like your heart rate, reset to baseline. Section 6. The Universal De-Escalation Toolkit. Let's synthesize everything we've talked about into an ultimate master plan for handling rudeness anywhere. Okay, here is your final 5-step checklist. It's an actionable synthesis of everything we've covered that puts you entirely in control of any social dynamic. Step 1 is always physical. Pause and breathe to clear the adrenaline. Step 2 is mental. Challenge your mind reading or catastrophizing. Step 3 is the interaction itself. Let them vent and acknowledge their frustration before you try to solve anything. Step 4 is establishing safety. Assert your boundaries respectfully using I statements. And finally, Step 5, solve the problem cooperatively by offering choices, which beautifully restores a sense of agency to the frustrated person. So, what does this all mean for you? By mastering your own biology and cognitive traps first, you are no longer a victim to external rudeness. You become an architect of civil communication. So, where will you deploy these tools first? Will you start by catching those automatic thoughts during your morning commute? Or maybe by implementing a strict 20-minute pause the next time an argument heats up at home? The power to de-escalate tension is absolutely entirely in your hands. Remember, civil communication isn't just about the words you say. It's about mastering the space between a rude trigger and your empowered response.